Well, having finished this portion and wanting to start this portion, I decided to go ahead and dig out the soil underneath this board here, like I did over there. And I'll probably, I would say somewhere right in there, put in a paper base and brick and another 4x4 to hold that where it is. It's level enough, and I like that. I measured 6'4" out to where this mason line is drawn, and that is where I'm going to need to dig for the 2x6s coming out this length, which means I'm going to have to go another 2 or 3 inches out further to put the board that goes this way. That board's going to be right at 12 feet long. And it's just something I like to do in the small chunks, as my wife calls it, the salami method. So there's some salami cuts today, more salami cuts tomorrow. I decided to cut some more salami, so to speak, even though I was ready to quit. After a little rest, I was able to chop down a little bit more. Tomorrow morning I will lay the 2x6s across and see what more, maybe right in these areas, I have to take out to get things level. I'm going to continue the prep work, which is a lot of what's going on as far as building this deck has been. The prep work. Had to dig down. You can see how many inches there I had to dig down. Remove all that soil in there. Had to put in a swale, which goes down and around and under, and then out down there. Functions just fine. But this swell here, as stated in earlier videos, is getting overwhelmed. You can see the incursion of soil that's filling in things. So this is going to need some attention today. Getting that fixed, washing that soil out of there, putting a nice V indentation in it and testing it with the hose. And once I get things level, I'm going to cut a couple 2x6s 6 foot long and lay them in here on the joist and see if I can get the level on them to match the level that I found on this diagonal board here yesterday. The camo blocks, several of them are going to be laid out right along in there. And then my primary, or in this case secondary, well, if you're considering the water's coming this way, that'd be the primary swale, camo blocks, secondary swale. I'm going to put gravel in here where I dug the dirt out. Gravel is not going to carry wood rotting organisms that are going to affect this treated wood, which is not ground contact rated. None of this wood that I bought is ground contact rated, so I've made sure that soil is not touching it. At this corner, I think once I have my long 2x6 boards put in, I will do a support with either a big paper block on paper base or either a brick or two on paper base, and then 1 or 2 vertical 4x4s will go right in there. Now, as I said in an earlier video, I really have to do some Bondo work here on this post for the railing. This existing deck is easy 30 years old. So rot like that on something that was buried in the ground, that's not surprising. Cut 7 2x6s at 6 foot lengths and laid them down to see what kind of extra leveling I might need to do to the soil, and got out my longest, straightest 2x6 that I had in my inventory from over there, and just laid it in here to see how things are lining up. I have not trimmed it, you know, to have a flush attachment there. I went ahead and I pulled this guy back as far as I could to get this one in, just to see how things line up. And it's not too bad. Not too bad, and this is giving me a nice look overall how things are gonna. I decided once I got the 2x6s down, and then that long 12-foot 2x6 running underneath the decking, I just wanted to get a look at how things were going to look overall. I know perfectly well how to fill in these holes and whatnot, having the ends of the board, both of them meeting together in the center of a 2x6 joist and cutting it to fit and all that. I used every last decking that I bought, and there's what my overlap is going to be, right at an inch. So that's going to be perfect. All the decking off, as well as all the loose 2x6s. Decided to go ahead and officially install the first 2x6 here in this triangular area. I made one of my wedges out of 4x4 to allow an intersection of a joist hanger on an angle. But what I did do today was I checked some water flow, and I ran my hose running full force of water running down here where you see this gravel, and I've got it to flow right along the very edge of the deck and the wooden walkway here, and it has made its way right out here, which is what I want. So any wet areas you see here, and this little bit seems to be overflow from the gravel, when the wheelbarrow pathway is in here, water is not going to go uphill to get on that wheelbarrow pathway. It's going to stay right in here and make its way along the edge and ultimately out that way. I also noticed that when the water was coming in up here, that it also diverted, it split right here, and it went into my existing able to get the ground level. I went ahead and installed the 12-foot 2x6s that interface with this board right here. I've got those attached nicely. And before I put the camo blocks down, I went ahead and had each one of these boards spaced correctly, and they were even with the top of these 2x6s, the 12-footers, and went ahead and I marked where the joist hangers would be. And then I decided to go ahead and lay out where the camo blocks would be. I'm going to have to dig some kind of deep holes and add a paver base, and then sink those camo blocks and get them deep enough to where these boards will line up nicely with the top of this 12-foot 2x6. Waterproofing and taking care of that post there on that railing, and then I hit it with some waterproofing seal over top. Ordered some solar powered lights to help illuminate the wooden walkway, and I think it looks pretty nice. I don't have these mounted, I have these just sitting loose, but they provide a good amount of illumination, I think. So I put them at the corner of each step, and they face inwards and lights up things quite nicely. And then we had enough to put at the corner area of the existing deck. But overall, pretty spiffy. I've been a busy bee this afternoon, a little bit before lunch, and up to now it's about 3 o'clock. I got all the joist hangers installed, and the board that I bought yesterday to take care of some remaining 2x6 needs. I went ahead and cut it, have it checked out. It's going to fit. That's nice. And let's see what else. This guy right here, I went ahead and installed it as a support. I got it on some packed down paver base and a piece of sort of reddish paver that I found when I was digging up stuff. It's in good shape. I didn't have any more of my black plastic support systems, but I figured right down on top of this, it's not going to hurt. And it's quite stable, so that's water good. Drainage testing again. And you can see I put gravel here in front of this 12-foot long 2x6. I added some more here, trimmed off a little bit of that 2x6 that was running this way that was sticking out, and I added gravel on the other side of the 2x6, and I made sure it was not touching the ground anywhere. I did that, and like earlier I talked about, I put in a primary drainage ditch, which works pretty well. I actually don't think I'm going to put any gravel there because it does work quite well. The troughs that I had dug out for 2x6s to be level, I added some paver base in there to fill them up so we weren't getting multiple flows going into the secondary drainage ditch. And everything is draining good. This is very typical when I do a water test. The water, since it's such a very gradual slope, it takes a while to drain, and it basically just dries out in these ditches here, which is fine. If there's water coming, if there's rain coming, then they flow. When it stops, they sit there and dry up. So tomorrow is the installation of the camo blocks. How I was going to do the camo blocks, and instead of digging a specific hole for each one, I'm going to dig out this whole area here down about 3-ish, 4-ish inches, something like that, because my height offset on these, just sitting on the ground, is 2 inches. So going down in a hole with paver base, I got to go even lower than 2 inches. If I'm only going to do 1-inch paver base, that'll probably be close. Now the reason I'm going to do a long trench like this is I don't have to be real careful with how much paver base I put in, because once I get a camo block laid out, say right here in line with these joists, if it's a little too high, I can wiggle it back and forth and settle it into the paver base and get it at the right height to match what it needs to be here. And if it's too low, I can just slide some paver base over or under it and get it to the right height. So this is easy digging. It's not real difficult analysis kind of digging. You just dig it out. Okay, so I'm going to do some digging here and report back in with the camo blocks where they need to be. Well, digging that out was a true pain in the you-know-what. But anyhow, it's about as done as I think it needs to be done, depth-wise overall. I would say fitting in a camo block here with paver base will be okay. Okay. Might need a little reducing of the height here, as well as here, and here. But I'm not sure. This soil, it might as well be paver base. It is hard as concrete. All the joists have joist tape on them. All the camo blocks are installed. I had a lot of help from my wife doing this, because I did things a little differently than probably most people would have done. What I did was I got that ditch dug that you saw. Then I put the joist in over top of the camo blocks without leveling or anything like that. Then I did a mix of gravel and paver base and dumped this around the edge of the camo blocks. And while I held them up with a hoe, my wife stuffed the gravel and the camo blocks in there nice, or she stuffed the gravel and the paver base under the camo blocks until they were nice and tight, flush up against the joist, and they do not wiggle waggle and they do not go up and down. So it was kind of a backwards way of doing things, but I found it a lot easier than going trial and error, trial and error. Oh, too much favor base. Oh, not enough. You know, it was just easier to put the joist in, position the camo blocks, and then stuff them nice and tight with gravel and paver base underneath. And they don't give it all. They are really nice and tight. Tomorrow I'll be putting braces in and joist tape on them. I will then reinstall this part of the original decking that I took up to be able to get to the joist hangers. And then we'll start putting the decking in. This day has been another busy day. Not so much work in the morning, but a lot of work in the afternoon. I've gotten all the braces in and joist tape on top of them. That worked out good. I also did another water flow check, and still working good. Water goes under the joist, heads around the corner here, and goes on out this way and that way, which is exactly what I want. I'm going to try and knock out all the decking. The beginning of the first decking board is happening now. This was one that already had the angle cut and laid out. And for us to do the patching work, I have to cut it to lay on the joist at right about halfway. And then I've got this spare piece here that is more than long enough to fit from here to that post there. As I like to say, we're coming along. I've gotten down 4 widths of decking using the sort of patchwork method, as is done with short, long, long, short down the other end, then long, and then short. I just trimmed these guys off, and it's coming along, looking good. Done. October 18th, 4:37 p.m. EDT. We are finally finished after making the first marks on the ground with paint, marking out the stairs and floating deck 1. We now have floating deck 2 and floating deck 1. They are complete. I'm really thankful I was able to pull this off and finish everything. And there you have it. I think it's time to let my wife know I am finished. This is a little addenda, a little outro of sorts. My wife suggested I go ahead and take the orbital sander and take off the rough cut edges here on the diagonal, which I did. I think it looks better, and I decided, since this is going to be a high traffic area back and forth, that I would soften the sharp corners of these stairs should I happen to bump into them with my wheelbarrow. That's the high traffic. Foot traffic is going to be on the stairs. But pushing a wheelbarrow and maybe losing balance or whatnot, trying to adjust real fast, I would not want to whack my shins on a sharp corner. So I have gotten rid of that. And being very project oriented, the next part of the project is not wood or construction, so to speak, but it is putting in the wheelbarrow pathway, which I just got it started today. But that's another story for another time. So here we are, signing off for sure on this massive backyard project.